Hey Jesse, what's up, man?
Hey, buddy. Nice to finally meet you, man. Been a fan for a long, long time.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. Nice to meet you as well.
Well, we have, say, Satanic Hispanics, another really fun anthology that you're a part of. First off, how did you get involved with this project?
First, so thanks, man. I'm glad you dug it. Uh, the producers were Alejandro Brugues and Mike Mendez were like kind of the creative producers, and they came up with the idea of like, let's do a, Latino-based Hispanic, anthology. And I've been like you were saying, I've been a part of a couple of anthologies, and sometimes they go great, sometimes they don't go so great. So but as soon as they told me the title, I was like, yeah, I'm in for this one. I mean, it's just like Satanic Hispanics is like there's so much promise of just craziness, and just you don't know what's going to come. You can kind of expect it, but you don't know exactly what's coming. And I think and also once they got all the rest of the filmmakers, and it was an honor to be a part of it. And we're trying to have some fun with it, and we I think we made a fun film. So
Yeah, it's a big year for, Hispanic filmmaking, and like we finally have some representation. And it's pretty cool that there's, Blue Beetle and now this as well. But someone that's kind of been involved in that world for quite some time is, Himke Moderna. And I
hmm
really enjoyed his character in your film, or in your piece of this film. How did you guys work together to kind of shape that character?
well, I mean, I had worked with Hemke on Queen of the South, and we had become friends, and I knew that he usually does serious roles with a little bit of comedy sometimes. Like, and I know on Queen of the South, his character was, was but literally like a hitman at sometimes, and then other times he was, cooking and just being, Hemke. So I know Hemke had this like very kind of cool and, and funny side to him. And so when this idea came across my desk, we are looking for ideas for, the anthology. Um, this idea of the vampire forgetting it was daylight savings. I was like, oh my God, that's great. So I knew exactly. I was like, all right, I got to get Hemke. And I just sent it to him, and I think he knew exactly what he needed to be. We gave him the script, he gave us a couple of notes, this and that, and he's the one that brought in Patricia to play his wife. And it was just like they'd known each other. He was like, oh, this is a friend of mine, and she's great. And I had never worked with Patricia, but she was just great to work with, very helpful. And this is like, super low budget. And these are real actors who are
Yeah.
like, been on major movies, major TV shows. So it was very cool of them to come down and kind of slum, with us for a few days. But their chemistry was so great. So for, I think we talked about the character a little bit, but I think it was kind of self-explanatory, like the idea that he's kind, he's full of himself and he's a vampire and this and that. But him and his wife have this, the same kind of problems that a lot of married couples have. It's like they're just at each other's throats, and there's like this, they're taking each other for granted. And I just thought the idea of this with Hemke, and Patricia, and once they got going, it was just such a delight. And on screen, and at the end, it was like there is this, like, because I wanted them to like discover the love. I really love that about the script, is the idea that like that there is kind of redemption at the end, and they actually, at the last moment of their lives, they actually are really close together again. So I thought that was kind of cool, especially for a short,
Yeah.
comedy horror. Like, it was kind of out of the ordinary. So yeah, that was basically it, man. I mean, I think Hemke was kind of born to play this character. So
Yeah, with Himke, I always for some reason my mind always gravitates to him in Weeds, and
yeah.
his performance in this, it made me completely forget about that. So kudos to you guys, because it like it really, like I could really tell, like not only in the film itself but in this segment in particular, that you guys were having fun. And I really liked that, because for the viewer it made it that much more entertaining, and that much more fun overall.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, we were, again, low budget, stressful. but hoping that some of the fun came across, and I'm glad you say that.
Yeah, I guess kind of going off that, was there anything that maybe got left on the cutting room floor, or anything that you guys weren't able to do due to like budget or any sort of constraints?
I mean, it's always, constraints, and also like the movie was kind of ambitious. It had a
Yeah,
lot of locations, and there's a couple of scenes, like there's a scene where and we never shot it because it was just, but there was a scene where like the cops finally catch up to him and they open fire on him, and he's a vampire, so the bullets don't hurt him. Um I thought that would have been cool, but then I saw Alejandro's film, the or no, Mike's for film, and I realized that there's a lot of machine guns, and also there's a lot of gunplay in Alejandro's. So I was like, I think we can, back off of that and bring something else. And also, just it would have just been, we barely got the movie made, in the 5 days we had. I mean, it was a very tight schedule. So but no, man, nothing. I mean, at this level you cut lines here and there and you shorten things, but I think all the major stuff is in there. At this level you can't really afford to overshoot, because it costs so much money,
yeah,
or you don't have enough money to have extra days. But it was we definitely maxed out whatever we could, and again, keeping the effects practical, and just kind of playing with the idea of like, the kind of the basics of like a Hammer movie from the 70s, 60s, something just kind of not cheesy, but something like a little bit over the top and colorful, and like, just again, fun.
fun.
I think that's the main thing with it, with Alejandro and Mike. You kind of come across their pictures like, let's just have some fun with this.
Yeah, I love that. And it kind of based on what you were saying, I want to know about the communication between the directors. You mentioned watching their films. What was that process like? Would you guys work a couple days and then communicate, or how did you guys kind of keep it cohesive but still different at the same time?
I mean, I think that, like, I've been involved in a few anthologies, and they kind of, they work themselves out somehow. Like, there is like, you give 4 or 5 different filmmakers like freedom to, and that's really what it is, the freedom to do anything. And they really do. You're kind of surprised by the diversity of stories that kind of pop up. So for us, it was like, that initial freedom of like, you can do whatever you want. And then once we decided what, not even the script, but once we had like kind of the idea, or like something central to the movie, we then kind of, that's what they asked us first, like, give us something central to the movie, because we want to have this, the movie that takes place between the other movies, we want them to connect in
Yeah,
some way. So they definitely, so we sent them, I was like, yeah, it's going to be about a vampire, so you can mention everything. So everybody kind of threw in like, okay, this is going to be about this, and can be the clue into our segment. But other than that, it just works out. It just worked, like I was going to do a horror movie, like more, scarier. And then I ended up doing a comedy. Demian, who did the first film, was going to do a comedy, and he ended up doing the creepiest one of the
yeah,
lot. So it was like, just it somehow worked out, and it was like, it was kind of crazy, because when you watch the film, there is like this kind of ebb and flow that's kind of fun to it. And there is like really serious stuff, and then there's just the most ridiculous stuff you've ever seen. So that's kind of like the balancing act there, I thought. And they did a great job. And Mike, who directed and wrote the segments in between, I think he was really clever about kind of making it one cohesive movie, while giving us freedom, and also having like very diverse kind of cinema in each of the films. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So they did a good job.
I spoke to Mike, and I asked him about the pressure of kind of opening and closing the show,
Yeah.
which kind of leads me to, I guess my final question for you, and I have to ask this just because it has such a huge impact on me. With Blair Witch Project, it had a huge impact on the horror genre. It still does, obviously, to this day. How do you handle that pressure of, living up to that groundbreaking success, with the projects that follow?
I mean, that's kind of the story of my career, is dealing with, having hit like a grand slam on your first, supposed first movie. I mean, I had done, both Dan and I had done movies before Blair Witch, and
Yeah.
Blair Witch was obviously the first kind of success. But you just, you kind of have to keep it in the back of your mind and just kind of move it aside. And um, you know, uh, it was really, I mean, obviously, dude, it was very difficult at first. Like when I was like 30 years old when that movie came out. So it was like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're a filmmaker now. And now instead of like, there's a pressure of like, when you're a filmmaker, you're struggling, you're like, okay, who's really going to see this? My professors, maybe my the students and my family. But then once you hit something like, and that was the thing we had with Blair Witch, was that I was like, we never had any kind of delusions of grandeur. Like we thought, if we can get a video deal, just make enough money, to put it into the next film, that's all we want. So once the movie blew up, and now you're like, okay, everything else you're going to do from now on, everybody, a lot of people are going to want to see it,
Yeah.
so now you got to prove yourself. And that was like, really, it's difficult for somebody young, and also, having a movie that like really literally blew up right in front of us, and we didn't even know we had like this freaking bomb in front of us, for good and bad, you know what I mean? So now it's just like, I mean, I'm really blessed, and I feel fortunate that I was part of that movie, because, I'm talking to somebody like you because of that movie. I was involved in this movie, Satanic Hispanics, because of Blair Witch, and I
Yeah.
owe it my TV career to like Blair Witch. But you just keep working, man, and you keep, showing people that, that Blair Witch was just one of the things, and obviously you're never gonna, catch lightning in a bottle again, or probably never, but at least you can do good work. And it's like you belong in the business, and that's all you can kind of hope for, is that people will continue to hire you, and you can kind of keep being creative and collaborative, and so that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Thank you for your time. Here at CineDump, we let the doers know how they're doing, and Eduardo, you're doing just fine. Uh, I mentioned to my mom that I was interviewing you today, and she said, make sure you tell him his movies are creepy as shit. So
Oh, thank you, man.
at the very least, you scared my mom, and congratulations on Yellow Jackets and the continued success, man. Big fan.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, bro. Nice to meet you.
You too. Take care.